Welcome to Blue Man Group the movie, aka Avatar, a movie that is almost 3 hours long, so to shorten this video up a bit, humanity sucks in the future, no surprise on that. Just drag and drop your favorite futuristic dystopian world from, I don't know, something like Blade Runner, and that's what planet Earth looks like here. And there's this other Earth-like planet called Pandora, with a very popular CSGO team on it called Na'vi. Hold up, wrong Na'vi. These Na'vi are actually like blue, tall, humanoid people with 4 fingers on each hand, and a ponytail with an Ethernet cable built into it to allow them to pair bond or like intertwine themselves with other animals or beings that have these same Ethernet cables and feel what they're feeling and that type of crap. And this Pandora is very rich in a resource that is very valuable for humans and hard to obtain, that they dubbed unobtainium. Very imaginative naming on the humans' part. Now the atmosphere on Pandora is only breathable for 20 seconds for humans and they are dead in 4 minutes. But they went regardless to mine the shit out of this unobtainium crap at a huge cost to the Na'vi people because lots of it lays on very sacred sites for them that cannot be replaced or bartered for anything else. One of them is Home Tree, this big ass tree that they all live in that sits on the biggest deposit of unobtainium that the humans have found so far. And the other one is way more important called Spirit Tree or some shit that I don't think sits on any valuable resources for humans but is important to Na'vi nevertheless. And basically this is the classic human trait scenario of colonization because you have shit I want, yoink it's mine now, screw you and your land, that type of shit. Now on to the characters. Jake Sully, some random marine that got in the spine and is now bound to a wheelchair forever because he can't afford the surgery to fix his leggies. And he has a scientist brother that some science people made a Na'vi avatar body for out of his DNA so he could go Netflix and chill with the Na'vi people on Pandora. Then we got a professor, her name is Grace, and she's the lead scientist on Pandora, loves Na'vi people, studies them and knows everything about them, and has her own avatar to try and find a diplomatic way to move them off the big tree so they can take the unobtainium. Scarface guy, no relation to the movie. He's just the guy in charge of the military stuff on Pandora and wants to remove the Na'vi people by whatever means necessary, aka with force. Punchable face guy, he's the boss of the whole operation on Pandora, the boss of Scarface and Grace. That's enough of the humans, now for the Na'vi people. The singular one that I'm gonna point out, T-Seaway or something. I'll remember her name later. Don't worry about it. This lady has a dad, and that dad is the leader of the biggest Na'vi clan, and her mom is the spiritual leader of the people, and interprets the will of Awa, their deity, like the soul of their planet and shit. And she's set to marry this guy who's supposed to take the place of her dad as leader of the clan, and she's supposed to take the place of her mom as leader of the clan, but spiritually. Now that's enough of the board, let's go movie. Jake is approached by 2 official dudes after getting kicked out of a bar for fighting, showing us yet another example of people who can't hear the footsteps coming towards them until they're directly in front of their face. But whatever, they tell him that his bro got stabbed to death and he can take his place in this project of his, this research stuff, because the avatar they made for him that is really expensive is coded to his brother's DNA and he has the same DNA, so it'll work because they match, and he can
step into his shoes, so to speak.
Jesus, watch your words around the wheelbarrow, man. Anyway, he'll be compensated nicely, obviously, so he agrees and they fly him out to Pandora, where everyone's so surprised by how much he looks like his brother, like...
Looks just like him.
Yes, tends to happen a lot with fucking twins. Are you not familiar with the concept? You're a scientist, Norm. Norm's another scientist they made an avatar body for. So Sully meets Professor Grace, the head scientist dude, and she's mad he's here and not his scientist brother, and he's like, he's dead. Sorry for the inconvenience, bitch. So she goes to an unpunchable face guy about this, and he's like, suck it up, bitch, is what we got. And puts Sully on protection duty for the scientist team and presses her to improve the relations with the Na'vi people that he ruined by being a dick.
The nerve!
Then he does this whole bit about how unobtainium pays for this whole party, which she undoubtedly already knows, but he's only saying this for movie exposition. Then they put Jake and Norm in some jello and link them up to their avatar bodies using extreme movie science. Jake wakes up in his Blue Man Group giraffe ass with the ability to use all of his ligaments, even his feces, so he ignores all the pre-flight checks for his avatar body by the scientist and remembers how to use his legs, then runs outside, meets Avatar Grace, and I am convinced that they gave these Na'vi people tails in this movie so they can naturally censor their butt cracks. Whatever though, Jake meets Lettuce Toretto, the pilot that flies out all the science parties to their little, expeditions and shit. Then Scarface, who's working out like...
This low gravity will make you soft.
He just inadvertently called himself a weak ass bitch because since they have low gravity here, all these weights aren't actually that impressive if they are normal weights made of normal materials to Earth standards, with the gravity being substantially weaker, which to be fair, he is making it out to be that way. Anyway, he keeps talking tough guy shit, gets in a mech suit and then tells Jake that he wants him to report back to him on all the Na'vi weaknesses once he finds them out, so Scarface knows where to hit him where it hurts, and in return, when Jake goes home, Scarface will get him the leg fixing surgery he wants. So they hop in their avatar bodies and fly over to the forest to do some fucking science, I guess, and hopefully run into some Na'vi people to intermingle with. They pass by an old school where Grace taught the Na'vi people shit like English. Jake's like, what happened here? Oh, casual school shooting. It's basically American tradition by this point. They then meet a hammerhead rhino and a 6-legged skin dog which attacks Jake and separates him from the other 2. He does his best to survive and get away, which leads him to do the cliche of jumping up the waterfall to escape from danger. Luckily, he doesn't die in the incredibly shallow waters. Now he's in the jungle alone. He makes a very sharp stick, while Chikawe is quietly stalking him, wants to kill him with a poison arrow, but then an aerial jellyfish lands on the arrow as if to tell her not to. The other avatars go back to human base because they can't find him and they can't stay out too long at night, and by nightfall, dude figures out that this tree sap is flammable and lights his stick with it to protect himself from little 6-legged skin dogs. I don't know how he found out that shit was flammable, but okay. He keeps trying to protect himself, but then soon gets overwhelmed. Then Chikatewe, whatever, pops out and starts protecting him and chews away all the 6-legged skin dogs, and he thanks her, but she's like, no thank, this is sad, very sad only. You're like a baby, making noise, don't know what to do, dumbass. That was so accurate up to the dumbass. He's like, if you really love your little forest friends, then why'd you kill him to protect me? Because Mercury's in retrograde. The fuck does that even mean? She wants him to leave, he wants her to take her with him. Then a bunch of squishes land on him and she's flabbergasted and he's like, what are they? Seeds of the sacred tree, very pure spirits. So am I like covered in cum right now? I ruin everything, don't I? She changes her mind because the aerial cum and takes him by force now over to her Omotekaya clan where no dreamwalker, filthy sky person is allowed, telling her dad that she got a sign from A1 not to kill him. Then her mom comes over to interrogate him and find out the will of Awa, and she finds out that he's not a scientist but a soldier human, and the dad says that they never got a soldier dreamwalker before. He's the first one to come over and they really need to study him and learn as much as they can about him, and they task their daughter to teach him everything about them. Okay, leader of the Blumation Nation, but isn't that exactly the opposite of what you just wanted to do? I thought find out everything you can about them meant torture and interrogate. Are y'all avatarded? So they get him in tribal clothing, aka almost naked, and we find out Blue Bitch's actual name is Nitiri. That's very helpful. They feed him and put him to bed, but he wakes up in his jello pod as a human, where Grace was more worried about the avatar than him. Quick question, if he dies in his avatar form, does he die in real life too? Is it like Inception or what? Doesn't matter. He catches the scientists and the army boys up with what he did so far, and Grace gives him a crash course on who's who in the Navi. He gets put in the jello pod again to be his avatar, now starts learning shit like how to ride their version of a horse by connecting his Ethernet cable to the horse's cable and telling it what to do with his mind and shit. Then Grace moves the science team over to a remote location on a lab somewhere on some floating rocks because they found out that Jake's been reporting to Scarface and Punchable Guy behind her back. I don't know how this is meant to change anything. He can still contact them over their internet, but whatever. They go over to the Hallelujah Mountains that are floating because of, and I quote, the maglev effect caused by the unobtainium superconductive properties. So basically magnetic movie signs. Also, does this not mean that there's a ton of unobtainium over in that location? So why not mind that? Whatever. Jake starts using, according to Grace, the least glitchy jello pod. What does glitchy mean here? Does it mean that he can't get into his avatar on a startup, or does it extend to him not being able to use one of his limbs, for example, when he's in his avatar? Maybe he gets lag? Can it cause him to have a sudden brain aneurysm or a stroke? Explain, bitch! Whatever. In theory shows Jake her dragon, which will fly with only one Navi in their lifetime. Once a bond was made, he'll get one when he's ready, and continues to learn the language. Archery, becomes better friends with Normal. He teaches him Navi, who was previously jealous of him. I don't know how he has time to do this in the morning if he spends all day in his avatar body and all nights resting his real one. But get more learning, and eventually enough trust is formed between him and the Omotekaya people to let him bring Grace's avatar into the village. They bury that dude and talk about death and energy and Awa, and Grace force feeds his real body because he's losing weight at a very rapid rate and he can't do that because he needs the energy. And there's a continuity error here. Actually, there are a bunch of them. It really pisses me off, but I'm only mentioning this one because I want to save time. Then Grace tells him about how all the other kids with their pumped up kicks better run, outrun their guns. Please tell me you understood what I meant by that reference. And can you close the fucking fridge, Grace? God damn it, the food is gonna spoil. Jeez. Thank you, dumbass scientist. Anyway, long story short, Nitiri had a sister who made a Greenpeace protest and got shot up in the school because she thought she'd be safe with Grace, but she wasn't. Later, Avatar Jake makes a clean kill according to Nitiri, so the other kill that you said you made yesterday was a dirty kill, and you still ate it, you say? I thought that wouldn't be allowed. Anyway, he's ready now to go get his own dragon apparently. So him and a bunch of other graduating hunters climb up the floating mountains to go choose their dragons. He wrestles one and establishes an internet connection with it, then flies around a bit. Insert how to train your dragon clip here. Hey, hold on a minute. Isn't he plugging the dragon's breathe holes with his feet? How is it breathing properly? And can it smell his feet? They must be stinky, right? Anyway, they do some more hunting and learning and flirting, much to the dismay of this guy, Sute, who's supposed to marry, fuck, I forgot her name again, Nitiri, and be the new clan leader and shit. They get attacked by a bigger dragon and escape it in the forest, and she explains to him that that big dragon is called Turuk and is really big and strong, and only 5 Navi ever were able to ride it, and the last person to do that united all the clans in the time of great sorrow, because apparently that type of big dick energy for someone to wrestle with a fucking dragon and control it is recognized globally by all Pandorans or all Navi. Now after 3 months of this, Jake wakes up one day in his human body, is conflicted as fuck because his first mission was to come and gather as much intel as he can on them to fuck him up, but now he doesn't really want to because he likes them. And in the ceremony where they put jizz on his face, he becomes a man and everybody touches him. I made that sound weirder than it really is, but don't worry about it. Then Nitiri takes him to another sacred tree of theirs, the Tree of Voices, where they can download and upload memories of their ancestors and listen to them and shit through their Ethernet cables. And since he's officially on Watakaya now, he may choose a woman. And she's like, we have many fine women. Tikawa has the biggest tits. Waeke has the fattest ass. I don't want none of them. I want you, baby girl. Come here. And they connect ponytails and she makes it up.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Fall asleep, and next morning the humans start bulldozing that area. I thought they were supposed to wait till Jake gave him the go-ahead or try to negotiate the relocation of the Navi people, but whatever. They're humans, it makes sense for them to be dicks. Jake hops into his avatar body just in time for him to try and stop them by breaking one of the cameras of the bulldozers, but he gets scared away by a guy with a gun. And back at the clan, Sute is mad and wants to attack the humans, and Jake's like, brother, don't do this. They're too strong. He starts calling him brother a lot at this point, like...
Excuse me, bro. You're excused. And I'm not your bro.
Except it's actually just as annoying and obnoxious as when The Rock does it in all those Fast and Furious movies. So he's like, you mated with this woman? How the fuck did he find out? Did he just infer it because they came in holding hands? Whatever. She's like, yeah, we fucked, what about it? I'm a strong, independent blue woman that can make her own choices, okay? Then back at base, Scarface notices that Jake is going AWOL because of the camera footage. So he flies over to their remote base on the floating rocks and disconnects them from their super realistic VR games. Their avatars drop to the ground right as Jake was trying to tell him the truth about himself and humans and his mission here. And Tute goes, see, the demon has a false body. I thought you knew. You called them dreamwalkers, for God's sake. You're so confusing, Tute. Whatever. Interior protects their bodies. Scarface and Punchable Boy get them back to HQ, and Grace tries to explain to them how valuable their trees and planet are and that they will never exchange it for anything. But as you know, money talks, people are assholes, and being greedy and gluttonous has been normalized and encouraged for centuries now. So after the Na'vi attack and destroy some of their shit, Punchable Face Guy gives the go-ahead to attack Home Tree with all the information that Jake has provided to them. So the scientist team plead to them one last time to at least let them get back in there and warn the Na'vi people to evacuate. So Punchable Dude agrees and gives them exactly 1 hour. They get back into their avatars and warn the Na'vi people about what's going to happen, and Jake tells them the truth about himself, how he was sent here as a spy basically, but he changed his mind because Blue Na'vi pussy got him acting unwise. Neytiri feels super betrayed by that. Sute gives him the stank eye. Damn, look at his face. They bind them up to execute them, all the while they're yelling at them that they want to help and shit. Scarface shows up with the big guns to take the tree down, which stops the execution. Neytiri's mom then comes over in the midst of the car and is telling Jake that if he really wanted them, that he should help them and freeze them. Then the tree comes down, Blue Dad dies, Neytiri is mad at Jake, and he and Grace get unplugged. Why didn't the Punchable Face Guy unplug them earlier when he saw the same feed that the Scarface guy was seeing, that they were tied up and about to get executed? Why didn't he unplug them then? Whatever. The scientist team gets locked up, but then Letty breaks them out because family and tries to escape with them to the floating mountains while Scarface tries to stop them with his wingman. They make it away, but Grace gets shot, so they go over to the Hallelujah Mountains and lift a whole section of their lab out to take with them to the Tree of Souls, where Jake thinks the Na'vi people are going and where the Na'vi people can help a very wounded Grace. Won't the Na'vi people immediately attack once they hear you land your loud ass helicopter over in the nearby vicinity? Maybe they got there before the Na'vi. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They land somewhere near enough. Jake jumps into the Matrix and wakes up in his avatar body amidst all the ashes of Home Tree, gets his dragon and decides to jump to Rook. By the way, Jake has this really annoying narration throughout the whole movie, which is kinda gay. Like, sometimes your whole life comes down to one crazy move. But hey, it works. He shows up to the Tree of Souls as Turuk Makto, aka Big Dick Rider of Turuk, the biggest bat in the sky. Everyone respects the shit out of him. Even Sute. He asks Blue Mom if they can help Grace, so they try and transport her from her human body to her avatar body, passing through the eye of Awa, while they all wiggle around and chant some really weird shit, but it doesn't work because her wounds were too great and she was too weak. So now she's stuck with Awa forever, which apparently isn't that bad of a deal. Jake gives a big speech on how sorry he is and how shit humans are, and rallies everyone to fight with him against the humans. Goes to 15 different clans with his Turuk. You got the Flying Clan, you got the Cow Clan, and they all respect him and want to fight with him. They come back as reinforcements. The bad guys see their numbers increasing on satellite heat vision, so they decide to bomb the shit out of the Tree of Souls, which is news Jake gets because he has a scientist guy on the inside telling him all this information. So he comes up with a plan to wait for them to come to them through the floating mountains, where most of their flying instruments won't work because of the magnetic fields affecting them and fucking them up, and that's where they attack them. Then that night, Avatar Jake goes to connect to Awa and asks her to look into Grace's memories if she's with her, and see how humans killed their Earth, basically asking for her help so Pandora doesn't befall the same fate. Then D-Day arrives, bad guys roll up with a ground team and an air team with this main powerful gunship that Scarface is in, with a bunch of smaller choppers protecting this pedestrian ship carrying a bunch of explosives that they're gonna drop on Home Tree. The Na'vi attack on ground and air with everything they got. Even Letty joins in with special war paint, but she dies. Don't worry, we all know that no one in the Fast and Furious franchise actually dies except for Paul. Rip that guy. Sute gets fatally injured as well and falls down to the ground because he tried this really ballsy move. Eventually dies later on, but who cares? The Na'vi are getting overwhelmed by the humans' firepower, but then the animals of Pandora, airborne and groundborne, yeah, whatever, unguided by any Na'vi, help out in the fighting because Awa has heard Jake's calls, and the tides turn in the favor of the Na'vi. Neytiri even gets to control of the six-legged skin dog, which is some gnarly shit homes. Jake then uses this momentum to destroy the cargo plane by nading one of its engines and having it blow up on the fucking ground nearby, not on the tree, and goes to do the same on the gunship, but not before Scarface prepares for Titanfall while the ship is falling and burning down, jumps down with his mech suit to survive the landing, which happens to be right next to the lab that Jake is connected to his avatar through. But then Neytiri shows up with her pet only to have it get stabbed to death by him, and she gets trapped underneath it. Then Jake shows up for a final 1v1 boss battle where he pokes a hole in Scarface's fuselage, so Scarface takes the whole thing off so he can see and puts an oxygen mask on, and Jake does not capitalize on this moment of vulnerability. Like, what the f are you doing, dude? He has no cooldowns. Attack, dickhead. You know what? I can see why you lost your legs in the first place, because you're a shit soldier, that's why. Anyway, he then pokes a hole through Jake's lab to try and kill Jake at the source, but Jake keeps fighting on both ends, here for breath, here for his life. Well, technically speaking, on both ends he's fighting for his life, but you get what I mean. Then Neytiri frees herself from underneath the dead carcass of the fucking six-legged dog and hits Scarface with a poison arrow, then another one. Jake wakes up in human form, suffocating, almost dying, and tries to make it to the oxygen mask, but can't. Neytiri realizes that Avatar Jake isn't fucking functioning and goes into the lab and sees normal-ass Jake and gives him the thing. He saves his life. They send the rest of the evolved with Ape Spectre, dying planet, and only a few are chosen to stay. Jake releases Turuk back into the wilderness, then transfers himself up into cloud storage, aka AWA, to download himself permanently into his avatar body and become the new clan leader, I think. This movie gets 10 papyrus fonts out of A Last Airbender.